Because I can't help it.
You can't help it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm actually about to cry. That's how bad I've been laughing inside.
Several eyewitnesses know Steve Linkus beat Hollyn, and we know that she was pretty much unconscious, not able to articulate, not able to form sentences or anything like that after he beat her. From there, I have no idea where she could be or what happened. Lots of theories, but nothing that's really panned out. Hollyn was around 8 when she came to live with us, around 2013. And she was here on and off for right around a year before she was adopted in 2014 by Heather and Stephen Snapp, who are her, for all intents and purposes, her parents. We have always, my family and I have always stayed in touch with them. Just attended things that we could that Hollyn would have, like choir. I still myself would go see her, talk to her all the time on the phone. She would message me 2 or 3 times a week, and if I didn't hear from her, I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And we, reconnect. So when Hollyn lived with us, and the last time I saw her, she very much has a very country accent. She's very, just the sweetest little accent that you like. I think that's like one of her characteristics that people would definitely know her by, is her little country accent.
And I think it looks beautiful on me.
Hey.
I do. I think I look great in black. I always have. Nobody could look this good in black. I mean, seriously. I look awesome in black.
She is very small. Strikingly small. She's the size of my 11-year-old daughter. She's about 4'9" and weighs about 90 pounds the last time I saw her. So she had lost some weight. Don't think that I have said this anywhere else, but I do feel like it is really important that people might know that her actual name is Erica Billheimer. That was her name before she was adopted. Kind of ruffles some feathers, but I do think it's important for people to know that.
Absolutely.
She was Erica until she was about 10, and she did change her name due to her, circumstances before. This Hollyn got a new start, and so that was a very good thing for her. And she liked being called Hollyn, but I also just feel like, what if she's using some other name or something.
With her name change, did Heather give her that name, or was
Hollyn
that
got to pick? Yeah,
Okay.
I think she got to pick.
I had a
from
feeling.
Several names. Yeah, and that was the one that she chose.
That is so sweet.
That is so sweet. Yeah, and she's very impulsive. She's very trusting of people that she definitely should not be trusting. She's never met a stranger, and everybody, according to her, loves her and has her best interest at heart. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, today's 460 days that she's been missing. We know now that she was wrong about that. People do not always have your best interest at heart. And I wish that we could have instilled that in her a little bit more.
Hollyn has the IQ of 64 and has the mentality of a 10 or an 11-year-old, making her extremely vulnerable and easier to take advantage of.
Can you tell us about her disappearance?
Sure. So around the time that Hollyn disappeared, there was so many big life things happening in our family and in Heather's family. Heather's family had, just in the days, like we'll say in the weeks from from September 28th, we'll say, to October 10th, all these things were happening in our family. Heather's family suffered a loss of a loved one, and that put Heather in a bad spot, being able to have Hollin at her home. Hollin had been living with her aunt in Kingsport. That got a little rocky, and it was apparent that Hollin needed to go to inpatient rehab. She was doing outpatient, but it needed to be inpatient. Hollin went to Heather's home. Heather couldn't let her stay for everything that was going on. And Hollin went to Johnson City Medical Center, where starting the night of the 27th, she started calling me, hey, can you come get me? And I already knew kind of what was going on. I knew that she needed to go inpatient. And in order to do that around here, I'm not sure how other mental health facilities work, but you have to go to the hospital and be admitted that way. So I called Heather and Steven. They're like, no, this is tough love. She has to do this. She needs to stay there. So she put on Facebook, can anybody come pick me up? She just wanted to leave. And Johnson City Medical Center is about a 30-minute drive from Kingsport, where she was staying. It's about 30 minutes from all of the key places she needed to be or could have been. So Heather and Steven and I talked, and we're like, no, don't go get her. I'm like, okay. So we decided not to do that. I talked to Hollin until about 4:30 that morning, and then I talked to her again around 6, and that's the last time I had ever talked to Hollin. So that was September 28th. I remember that because it's my birthday, and she, my daughter got married September 30th. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And Hollin had asked if she could be at that wedding. We're like, sure, And she's like, I'm so afraid that I will mess something up. I'm like, Hollin, what could you mess up? There's nothing that you can mess up. Of course, she wasn't at the wedding. I didn't think a whole lot of it. I just assumed that she had went ahead and went inpatient from the hospital. Fast forward a little bit. Heather put a post on Facebook, and she's like, hey, has anybody seen Hollin? And I called Heather, and I'm like, what do you mean has anybody seen Hollin? What's going on? When's the last time you saw her? So we start backtracking, and I'm like, this is not right. If there's a phone, she's on it. If there's an iPad, she's hacked the password. She was last known to be in Kingsport. She had texted Heather an address in Kingsport and said, hey, this is where I am, and this is who I am with, although he didn't want me to tell you his name. But she told Heather his name in that text, which is also Hollin, like that. So
her
funny.
personality.
Yes. And his name, I'm sure everybody probably knows from all of our Facebook posts, is Stephen Linkus. He lives at the address that was provided to Heather where she was, 1315 Bell Ridge Drive in Kingsport, Tennessee. Although now, knowing that area, there are many different addresses at that one address. There's a couple of campers, a trailer, and a house on that property. So we're not really exactly sure. I think law enforcement's probably more sure of where she is than I am. But anyways, we tried for several days to get Kingsport City. Heather started calling them, and she's like, hey, I need to report her missing. And it was just kind of a runaround. I don't remember exactly what they told Heather, but I was like, okay, like the 19th, I'm like, we're doing this. Like something is wrong, and we need to get in touch with them. So I call on the 19th. They tell us that that detective that would take that information is on vacation. And I'm like, okay, that's really odd. So finally, I'm like, Heather lives an hour from me. So I'm like, Heather, you need to come here. We need to go talk to somebody. Let's just go to Sullivan County and see if they can give us a direction of where to go. Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. So Sullivan County Sheriff's Office took a report. Mm-hmm. And at first they're like, she's young. There's, some substances involved. She's going to show up. No, like I knew the minute I saw Heather's post on Facebook, hey, is he seen Hollin, that something was wrong, because it all started clicking. I'm like, it's now like the 15th, and I haven't heard from her since September 28th. So mm-hmm. I knew then, I'm like, that's way too long. That child faithfully messaged me, my daughter, Heather, She was in everyday contact with her mom with phone calls and text and everything she needed to do to stay remotely safe, we felt like. And that all just ended October 5th with her last message to her mom being, hey, this is who I'm with and this is the address of where I'm at. After that, we have no real clues what happened to Hollin. There have been several witnesses come forward and say this, and this has happened. We do, through several eyewitnesses, know that Hollin was taken to this house by a mutual friend, and that friend left her there, I guess, to party. I think in Hollin's eyes, partying was different than how this man took the partying situation. And we know through those couple of witnesses that at some point Steve Linkus beat Hollyn, and we know that she was pretty much unconscious, not able to articulate, not able to form sentences or anything like that after he beat her. From there, I have no idea where she could be or what happened. Lots of theories, but nothing that's really panned
out. Now, they know that she was at that man's house, Steve. Mm-hmm. Did they search that property?
As far as I know, they have searched that property. We have been given conflicting details about that, if cadaver dogs were used or not, if certain things were done at the home or not. There was also supposedly a search of a vehicle, but that's also still like, we did this, we didn't do this. Oh no, we did this, but we didn't do that. You know, it's been a great big runaround with the actual details of that, which in one way I can see maybe we don't need to know all the details. Maybe it would be good if we didn't. But as somebody who loves Hollyn, it's just really hard.
Do you know if there's been any search warrants done on his residence?
So there have been search warrants done. I can't give the particulars for what items, but there has been multiple search warrants for things at the residence as well as electronics. However, there was a pretty good gap of time in between when we believe the beating incident happened and when she formally became missing, because people were reaching out to Hollyn and hoping that she would, reply back. She didn't have her phone at the time, so she was using Stevens, and so he did have time in between there to get rid of things like surveillance footage, which sometimes is recoverable. I'll throw that out there. Not always, but so we do know that he had a head start on taking some actions. The residents did have surveillance cameras, a couple of surveillance cameras. It's okay for me to say that they did attempt to delete that footage. Some of it was recovered.
I read somewhere that he fled to Georgia after she went missing.
Right. My husband and I took flyers to the road where she was on Bell Ridge, and we just put flyers everywhere we could. I put them on overpasses, stop signs, people's cars, the wall going up to the property, just put them everywhere. And supposedly he saw a flyer and got scared of what? I don't know. Why would you be afraid of a piece of paper? And went to Georgia, where he was arrested in Bartow County, Georgia, on just some petty, I think, drug charges. He was there for a while. And then he was extradited back to Loudoun County, where he was also there for a while. And
on unrelated charges.
Correct? Right. Just all petty drug and probation violations and different things like that. Since he has been back in Sullivan County Sheriff's at the jail there a couple of times, I believe.
Now, do you know about any prior relationship between Hollyn and Stephen before her disappearance?
I don't. I believe it was a new introduction, but sadly that introduction came from somebody that Hollin trusted, that Hollin knew. That was not a family member. It was they lived together in the same. It was somebody that she trusted. And she thought she was going there to hang out, but really it was more of an arrangement. The Linkus had asked this guy, other guy, to get a girl over, and Hollin didn't know she was stepping into that. Hollin thought she was coming over to party, have a good time, and that's not what it was, and it turned tragic. And even after she was beaten, these same people didn't call 911.
You stated that he left town after she was reported missing or after the beating?
So it was both, actually. So we believe that the beating happened, we believe, around the 9th, and the last communication from her was the 5th. And so it could be earlier. It's hard to pin down exactly that date, but later in the month, around the 20th, when she was reported missing, he took off. When that formal report came out, or that formal notice came out from TBI, he borrowed some money from somebody that was living on his property for gas, and took his mom's car and left town and ended up in Georgia.
But if there was any time frame or anything like that around that time that she went missing, where he
just to Virginia, not far across the line, because Bell Ridge is very close to Virginia, not far across the line, and then Knoxville, and then Bartow County, Georgia.
and all right around that time frame.
The same, yeah. Another person that lived on that property took a vacation during that time. Nobody knows where they really were. So that's interesting too, around the same exact dates and everything.
How many people did live at the property?
Several, as far as I know. One of them has since passed away of an overdose. Feel like there was information lost there. And several other adults live at that property, and still, I believe, 2 live at that property.
Do you know if the police have ever interviewed him about Hollin's disappearance?
They have. I know that they have at least once, but I feel certain that they've done it more than once, but other than one time, I don't know.
Do you know if what he said or anything like that?
I'd rather not say, I guess, what he said, but just that, he didn't do anything. She should be fine somewhere.
Have you interviewed or talked to him personally yourself?
I have not. I have reached out to him. His name's Stephen Linkus. She was at his house on Bell Ridge, is the residence that TBI has listed her as missing from. We do have text messages from his phone to Hollin's mother, but he won't talk to me. And I am aware of the statements he's given law enforcement while he was in custody. He denies involvement, but we can't corroborate his story at all. And so far, he's not been willing to talk to me. Although if he's watching this, I would like to have a man-to-man conversation with him.
Do you know if he was ever charged with what witnesses had said about her being injured?
No, he has never been charged with anything related to Hollin whatsoever.
Did he know her before that text communication with Heather?
As far as we know, no. So a mutual friend of theirs took Hollin there and introduced her to him. Also, it should be noted, I guess, that Steve Linkus is 50. He was 52 at the time. I guess he's 53 by now. And why he would want a 19-year-old girl just to come, hang out with him, because he didn't have any friends here, which is not true, because he lives here. He lived here before that, but that was the story that was told. He had just moved from Georgia, and he didn't have any friends and just wanted somebody to hang out with.
Now, her cell phone, she was texting from it that night. Was that ever found?
As far as I know, this SIM card was found. I don't know that her phone was found. And I know that that has been searched, but I have, again, no idea. I'm not privy to, and Heather is neither. Nobody is privy to the information of what was found on there.
Do you know where the SIM card was found?
It was found with another man that could also possibly be involved in the case.
Was he interviewed?
I'm not 100% certain. If I were a detective, I would have interviewed him.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Right.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you know if they got any pings off the phone prior to finding that SIM card?
Apparently, there were several pings in the area of Bell Ridge, one in Virginia, and the final one that led them to where the SIM card was. So they're thinking that it was just randomly pinging at a couple of those places. I'm not even sure if that can happen. I guess I should research, but apparently I think it can.
I think if they use it in that certain area, that's how they get the ping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said her SIM card was found, but not the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Did she have anything else with her?
Not that we know of.
Okay. So none of her personal belongings have ever been found?
No. Her personal belongings were the last time I knew where they were at her cousin's house where she was taken after somebody picked her up and took her there from the hospital.
Do you know what she was wearing that night?
I don't.
Her biological cousin and aunt is who she was staying with in Kingsport.
She was staying with her aunt at
Before.
first, longer
Right.
term than with this cousin. She was probably there a couple of days.
Do you know anything about their relationship?
Hollin and her aunt have, kind of a love-hate relationship. I think it was hard for her aunt, for Hollin to come live there, but it was kind of the only scenario that was working for Heather and for the aunt and for Hollin. I know that they had an argument. They'd argued a couple of times. I would go get Hollin. We'd go out to eat, and I'd just take her back, just to give them some time and some space. But around September 23rd, the aunt had kicked her out of the home. So from the 23rd to the 28th, I'm not sure where she was. She was just kind of couch surfing, I think.
Now, you said she was at the hospital. What day was that?
September 27th.
Okay.
Until the morning of the 28th. And we know that someone picked her up, we're really not sure who, and took her back to Kingsport, back to a cousin's house that was close to there. But she didn't go back to the aunt's, I'm sorry. But she was living with the aunt, a biological aunt in Kingsport. And she went to a biological cousin's house in Kingsport.
Now, has there been any confirmation other than she was with Steve that night? Was there anyone else? Do you know who they are? Or
we do know who they are. I'm not sure that I really want to.
Nope,
No,
you're good.
Yeah.
There's only one's been published.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And you know her well enough. I know that there was a lot going on in the families and things like that. Did you notice before her disappearance any changes in her, whether it be physical appearances or her personality or anything like that before she went missing?
She just lost a lot of weight. And she probably, a couple of months before that, she probably weighed about 110, 115 pounds. And the last time, Heather saw her, she was really skinny. That's one of the pictures that we have on some of her flyers. She weighed about 90 pounds.
Now, her biological parents, were they involved in her life at all?
Her dad was never, that I'm aware of, ever prior to coming to me or going to Heather, part of her life. Her mom tried to be a part of her life after she lost custody of her, and would do, sweet things on visits when they had visits together before the termination of parental rights went through. She would, just try to bring Hollin her favorite things, fruit or vegetables, which Hollin called vegetables. Even as a 19-year-old, she called them vegetables. So we have lots of Hollin sayings around our house, not that we're going to have vegetables. We say that and laugh and know that it's, a Hollin saying. But yeah, she just, she did have that. I do know that months before she went to live with her aunt that she did try to reconnect with her mom, and that didn't work out for just, her mom's living situation isn't the best either. So it just didn't work out.
Now, does she have ties to any other states or cities or?
Not that I'm aware of. Not
Okay.
even Virginia. As close as we lived to Virginia, I am not aware of any ties that she had in Virginia. Even just surrounding areas like Knoxville, there's no time that I know of her ever just going there on her own, which is another place that Stephen Lincoln went after she disappeared. So I don't know of any at all.
Are you able to speak about who saw or how it was brought to light that she was beat up?
I probably wouldn't be comfortable saying, just because maybe we could use their testimony later, although I'm sure whoever is responsible for whatever knows that who told us and what, yeah.
Absolutely.
I will say, I do want to clarify something, is that Hollyn was very much the type of person, if she did something, she was going to tell me or Heather. Like, she wanted the shock value. She wanted us to be like, oh, Hollyn, what have you done now? So I always feel like, and I guess it's true for some people, but that she barely scraped the surface of the drug world and that it sucked her in, because before it was just mostly smoking pot. And the summer before Hollyn disappeared, she was dating a much older man. That was also for the shock value, and we were all like, oh, and all that. But that situation kind of took care of itself. But when she was with that person, and they were homeless on the streets in Johnson City for a little bit of time, and that person introduced her to meth, and I think that that's kind of just, and he talked her into doing meth, and she told me the date. Like, Leslie, I didn't know today. Like, who does that? I'm like, Hollyn, like, what are you thinking? I'm like, no, this is not a text. We're calling. We're talking to each other right now.
Yep.
So she said, she wouldn't do it again, and she said that he had very much convinced her that they needed to do meth to stay up at night because it was dangerous living on the streets. So I think probably that, coupled with the fact of the living situation with the aunt, where lots of substances was just not a good thing. And I mean, I'm talking months from July to October. I think that it was just that long.
Yeah.
And as an advocate for Hollyn and her family, is there anything that you would like to say to her family and about all of this? And
I just want them to know that, until they're found, they've got 100% of me is in this case. It might not seem like it all the time because there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I can promise you that I'll never give up.
Do you have a Facebook page?
I do. It's called Hope for Hollynn, HOLLYNN. And it's just Hope for Hollynn, the word for. When Hollyn was doing all this stuff with this older boyfriend and on the streets and everything, I told her, I'm like, Hollyn, I'm going to be praying for you every day at 11 a.m. That was just, something I came up with in my mind. I'm like, I'm going to pray for you every day at 11 a.m. So I set an alarm on my phone. At first, I needed the reminder. Now I don't need a reminder. But, back then, my prayer was just that she would straighten up and go back home, and now I'm not even sure what my prayers are, just that God will give us answers, and He will give us peace, and that whoever knows whatever will find some shred of human decency in their soul that they do not have, to just tell us what happened. Heather has a chronic disease that is not good, and it would be kind and gracious for someone to let her know where her daughter is.
Steve, if there's anybody that knows anything about Hollin, what happened to Hollin, is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
You can't let a family, their life already is essentially destroyed, but you can't just let them live like this. And you know the answer, and you're too selfish to give it up because you're worried about, what people on the street might think of you. It's not about you anymore. It's about Hollin, and it's about her family, and it's about some sense of closure. Hollin didn't do anything wrong here, and people can say she might have made bad choices or whatnot. That's no excuse for what's happened. And so now is the time to come forward. And not only that, but like clear your conscience. Because I don't care what kind of person you are, nobody can sleep well at night knowing that they have the answers that we're looking for, and also knowing we are going to find out. So wouldn't you rather do it kind of on your terms and give us the information and cut a deal rather than for certain go away for the rest of your life?
If Hollin was to be watching this right now, is there anything you'd like to say to her?
Just that I love her and that I'm not going to stop.
The world feels darker without your light. We're searching for you every day, every night. Your laughter's gone, but we still hear the echo of your voice, so near, so clear. Hollin, where are you now? We're still waiting, we don't know how. The world keeps moving, but we stand still, praying for the truth, praying for your will. Until you come home, we'll keep the fire burning in every heart, in every yearning. We won't forget, we won't stop calling, in the silence, in the falling. Hollin, we'll wait for you until you come home. No matter how long, you'll never be alone.
Hollin, we love you, and we will never give up on bringing you home.
We've searched the roads, we've searched the skies, with tears streaked faces and broken sighs. The nights are colder, the days so long, but we'll keep waiting, we'll keep holding on. Hollin, where are you now? We're still waiting, we don't know how. The world keeps moving, but we stand still, praying for the truth, praying for your will. Until you come home, we'll keep the fire burning in every heart, in every yearning. We won't forget, we won't stop calling, in the silence, in the falling. Hollin, we'll wait for you until you come home. No matter how long, you'll never be alone. Every step we take for you. Through every storm, we'll see it through. Your name is in our every prayer, in the spaces where we find you there. Until you come home, we'll keep the fire burning in every heart, in every yearning. We won't forget, we won't stop calling, in the silence, in the falling. Hollin, we'll wait for you until you come home. No matter how long, you'll never be alone. Until you come home,
I do.
we'll
I
be
think I look
waiting,
great in black.
waiting for you to come home.
Not nobody could look this good in black. I mean, seriously, I look awesome in black. And pink and purple